All right, hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to share with you how being overly rational and logical was actually stopping me from being happy, and how I got out of my own way to then make myself 40 to 50% more happy with this one simple mental switch that I made. Now, if you're someone that's super logical and super rational, I think this video is going to be very, very helpful to you, as that's the type of person that I am. And I will tell you through my own life story what I've learned living my life. And yeah, hopefully it will be helpful to you. Cool. So in this photo over here, we have a warrior and a gardener. And this is essentially what happened to me internally, where there was a split between the two, which has led me to where I am today. And I feel so much more happy. So let me share with you guys first, how do I define happiness? So happiness to me is a state of stillness and contentment. It's essentially when your soul is at peace, and I always describe it as when you feel like your soul is not unsettled, right? Like this picture right here, like this guy or gal is, I would assume, very happy, floating above this lake, feeling very at peace, very unsettled, very happy, right? That is a beautiful, wonderful feeling. And I'm sure we've all felt that before when, maybe you're lying in bed next to your girlfriend or boyfriend and you just feel really happy, safe, and content. There's not a lot of emotions. There's not a lot of volatility or action happening in your soul. Your soul feels really at rest, right? That's what I define as happiness. Now, you'll notice that throughout the day, or maybe your life, that there are many times when your soul feels unsettled, right? Like when you're anxious, right? When you're sad, angry, lonely, joyful, regretful, envious, or any other hosts of feelings. Whenever you feel these, really like high emotions, or you feel that gnawing feeling in the back of your head because something is making you uneasy, right? You feel like your soul isn't at rest, right? And I think that's the source of a lot of our pain. And I use this picture over here to kind of describe how that feels on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes this picture is really extreme, but sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes it's a little bit more. But there were times in my life where I used to wake up almost every day and I would just feel terrible. Like I would just feel like shit. And I didn't know why. I was like, why do I always feel like I'm like something's wrong when nothing's really like wrong, right? Like why do I always feel like I'm so uneasy? Like I feel like my body is like twisting, or like my soul is like twisting, right? And I couldn't really put my finger on it because nothing was wrong. Like I had a great corporate job. I thought I had a great like partner at the time. I had a great group of friends, and I was like, I don't really understand what's going on. Like, why do I feel this way? So hopefully, I will tell you guys about my life and how I guess overcame these feelings. So before I jump into that, it's really important to note that happiness is not to be confused with joy or pleasure, as I believe joy and pleasure are very short term. And especially with pleasure, right, it can only be obtained with greater and greater stimulus every time, and it's very fleeting. So think about like a chocolate bar when you first eat it, right? You eat it, and you're like, oh my God, this is so good, right? You get those feelings of pleasure. It's really delicious, right? But then the next time you have it, it's not as delicious. And then the time you have it after that, it's not as delicious. And you need to eat more and more to get that same level of pleasure, or more extreme chocolate. Anyway, that's just to say pleasure and joy are not the same as happiness, as you can see from this picture over here. Sometimes when we feel extreme pleasure and extreme joy, it's a very intense emotion, intense feeling, and your soul is very, elated. It's very up, and there's a lot of energy happening. But I think happiness is a more peaceful state when your soul is at rest, right? It's still, All right, so I heard a great podcaster talk about how the best way to describe happiness for a lot of guys, I think, is a scenario where you have an orgasm, right? And it's when you have post-nut clarity, essentially. So when you have post-nut clarity, when you're just lying there and you're like, holy crap, like, my mind is quiet. I don't have these thoughts racing and roaring through my head. Everything feels at peace. Like that, I think, is a really good, relatable feeling of happiness that a lot of us can relate to. My whole life, right, I've never felt like one of the boys, right? And I used to have a friendship group that I grew up with when I was 4, all the way up to 18, right? So we went through kindergarten, primary school, and high school together. And we spent pretty much every single day together, played games all throughout the night together. And I was chatting to these guys pretty much all the time, every single day. But even after spending so much time with them for that long, I never truly felt like I was part of the group. And even today, after spending that many years with them, I couldn't tell you a single thing about any of them personally. I can't tell you what their favorite color is. I can't tell you what type of food they like to eat. I can't tell you what their favorite restaurant is. I can't tell you what their favorite movie is. Like nothing, right? And yeah, that's the thing. Like, even though I was part of the group, I was never close to any of them individually. Okay, I graduated high school and I ended up leaving that friendship group. I thought to myself, you know what? These guys, they're not really my people. I have different hobbies to them. They wanted to party and smoke and drink all the time, whilst I was thinking more about entrepreneurship and how I can set up my future and do well in school and all that fun stuff. So I thought we just had really different paths. I was a square, they were a circle, we were different types of people, and it just wasn't meant to be. So then I fell into another friendship group at uni, and I thought, dude, this is it. Like, I found my people, I found my tribe. Like, these are my friends. Like, I think I'm gonna be friends for life with these people, right? And for a while, I felt like I was really, really happy with this new friendship group. And I felt like this. I really felt like I was part of the group. I was, finding my people. And yeah, I was actually like super, super happy. And then something strange started to happen around year 2 to year 3 in that friendship group. I started to realize the same thing was happening inside of this new group as it did in my high school group, where I started to notice that I was pulling away from this group again. And I remember the boys in that group, they really liked sports bet and they really liked watching the NBA and things like that. And I realized that whenever we were hanging out and talking, a lot of the time I was delving into really heavy, deep topics, and they were keeping things really lighthearted, fun, and mostly talking about like sports bet or, teasing each other or, games or whatnot, right? And then I was always talking about like philosophy, like life, investing, starting a business, like stuff like that, right? I just assumed that it was the same situation as the high school group. I'm like, oh, wait, maybe these aren't my people. Like, maybe these guys are not the friendship group that I've always wanted. And then this started to happen again, where I started to pull away from the group, right? I started to become isolated from the group. And I once again, I didn't feel like I was one of the boys. And yeah, for a long time, that's what I thought. I was like, you know what? I'm just different to them. I'm a square, they're a circle, and we're just different types of people. But the more I reflected on it, I'm like, the same thing happened between my high school group and my uni group, which was I didn't take the time to actually develop those one-on-one relationships with the people in the group. Like, I was great in the group, but individually, like, I didn't have a relationship with anybody, basically, right? Because I never spent the time to actually get to know them on a deeper and personal one-on-one level, right? Now, this was definitely a problem upon reflecting earlier on my holiday this year. I started to notice that this is a recurring pattern that I keep doing. So I'm like, why do I have such a hard time developing these one-on-one relationships, right? And this is not something that I want to continue. Like, I don't want to keep getting into friendship groups and then leaving them and then finding new people and then leaving them, right? Because, once, if it happened once, I thought maybe it was the people, but it happened twice. And I'm like, oh shit, like this might be a pattern, right? And that's when I started looking more internally. So I've always been an entrepreneurial person. Even now, I run my own digital marketing agency at 28. So I've always been someone that's very ambitious and really setting my goals really high, and I have very high expectations for myself. Now, that also came with a really big problem because being very entrepreneurial, I also was someone that really enjoyed maximizing my time, sticking to a strict schedule, and that schedule, if it wasn't stuck to, would really bother me, right? But I didn't have the authenticity to then take myself out of situations. So I would always just sit there like thinking about all the work that I needed to do or all of the things that I haven't yet done on my to-do list. So whenever I was out with my friends, I would always be thinking about like, oh man, how much time do I have left in the day? These assignments to do, or I need to read this book that I'm trying to do because I'm trying to do like a 90-day book challenge. Or I need to go to the gym for 2 hours. Then I need to go to work, and all of these things that I was constantly thinking about every single day. And, all of these items that were unchecked in my schedule, like I was saying before, really affected me because I really wanted to maximize every single day. Ever since I was young, I always had the mindset of, time is running out, time is running out, time is running out, right? So I need to do as much as I can ASAP. I was stuck in my own thoughts. Like even though I was with a whole group of people, right? Everybody, this would happen so many times. Everybody would be having so much fun, talking to each other, joking. And I would literally be sitting there like this guy right here, just staring off into space, like, with all of these like computer calculations like happening in my head. Like I was thinking about, okay, what do I do tomorrow? What about next week? What am I going to do in 10 years? I was just lost in my own thoughts whilst everybody was like present and having fun. And this was a constant thing throughout my entire life. It was terrible. So yeah, my mind never shut off. Like I was always living in the future and I was thinking about everything that I still needed to do. And the problem was, I was never present in the moment, right? Even when I was speaking to someone, like let's say I'm in the daze and then somebody would snap me out of the daze because then they wanted to have a conversation with me, right? Even when I was having a conversation with that person, I wouldn't be present because I would be thinking in my head, right? Like, okay, how do I maximize this conversation? How do I make sure that I maximize also like my reputation and my appearance in this conversation? How do I make sure that this person likes me as much as possible? Right? So I'm having like all of these thoughts in my head. I'm like, okay, what do they want to talk about? What do they like? Am I saying too much? Do I need to listen more? Do I need to affirm them more? Do I need to mirror them? Like I'm thinking all of these things in my head, right? And it was just crazy. So everything that I was doing was about hyper optimization. The problem with all of this is that, the reason why I couldn't stay present was because, it's hard enough to juggle one spinning plate, right? I was juggling like 9 different spinning plates at a time with all of these thoughts in my head whilst trying to have a conversation with somebody, right? And yeah, you can imagine, what would happen if you tried to juggle 9 different plates. Like you check out this guy right here who's just juggling one plate, and then you see this lady here who's trying to juggle all of these plates at the same time, right? Absolute chaos and disaster. You can also see from this image right here, I guess like how at peace this guy is, and then how stressed out this lady is, right? Because she's just juggling so many plates. Her soul is very restless. So what was the real switch that happened with me? So I realized that a lot of the things that were the two main things that were causing my stress, which is one, I was just worrying all the time. I was just worrying about stuff that I didn't even know would happen. You know what I mean? Like I was worrying about where would I be in the next 3 years? Am I going to get my dream job? Am I ever going to be an entrepreneur? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Is anyone ever even going to love me truly for me? Like I was thinking all of these different things that would happen in the future, right? And a lot of those things, they just ended up either one, never happening, or they ended up just happening anyway because I was working towards those things every single day. And then, number two, that was causing me so much stress was I was just trying to maximize everything all the time. Like maximize my schedule, maximize my time, maximize my interactions with people, maximize their view of me, make sure I'm liked as much as possible, trying to get the most money as possible. Like all of these things were just causing me so much stress. And every time I didn't hit the bar, I would really be so cruel to myself. I'd be like, you idiot, like, you're undisciplined, you're weak, all of these things, I would be saying to myself. And that would just make me even more guilty next time I didn't hit those things. Like next time a friend asked me out, but I want to maximize my relationship with them, right? So I say yes, but then I realized that that's also cutting into the time that I had scheduled for working on my business. And then that would make me feel like shit because now my schedule's fucked up. But now I want to juggle being a good friend, but I also want to, make sure that I'm doing enough work for my business. So I have this internal turmoil and I didn't have a way to fix it because I'm like, what do? I don't want to disappoint my friend, but I also don't want to disappoint myself. So I'm like, what do I do? And then I just ended up going, having a shit time, not being present. The whole time I was there going out with a friend, I would just think about, hey, when can I get home to, do all the work that I haven't caught up on? When I stopped trying to maximize everything and just did the best I could, even if I missed a little bit, everything just became so much lighter. And I think that was really the key, was just looking at life through a much lighter lens was a really, really big shift for me. When I was being really deep all the time, right? I was always being so like philosophical, always talking about business, always talking about investing and stuff like that, right? I was talking to my therapist about this, and I told her that I imagined internally I have a warrior inside of me, and then I also have a gardener, right? And I remember saying to her that the warrior, he's very harsh, he's very disciplined, he's very schedule specific, and he's basically, very, very rough and very unforgiving, right? He's just like, go, go, go. Everything is logical, fuck your feelings. Just get it done. That was his basic mantra to me, right? And I think I got a lot of this from my dad, who was, very much like the warrior, who was like, I don't care how you feel, get it done. You're either going to be a winner or a loser, that type of thing. But then internally, I also told my therapist that I had a gardener inside as well, who was very, soft, very forgiving, who loved, who loved to just sit and just be at peace, who was very chill, very loving, very caring and kind. And I always knew I had that side in me. The problem was that I was bringing the freaking warrior to every single aspect of my life. Like, I was bringing the warrior to school. I was bringing the warrior to work. I was bringing the warrior to my friend's birthday party. I was bringing the warrior to, a friend's dinner hangout. I was bringing the warrior to my relationships, romantic relationships, right? I was just bringing the warrior everywhere. And you can imagine, what it would be like talking to the warrior all the time. Like, you know, it's no wonder that I came to like all of these conversations with so much heaviness. Like, and every conversation just, you know, was just it was just so much harder to connect with people, because if you're holding a spear and you're wearing battle plate and armor, obviously you're going to look more intimidating, and it's going to be much harder to actually interact and connect with you, right? So that's basically what I was doing. Is like I was just walking around with a freaking spear and, you know, Spartan shield, and pointing it in people's faces, and just, you know, being this really like heavy, burdensome guy to talk to. And then that's also, I think, why those one-on-one relationships didn't form, is because whenever people did try to connect with me, I just got super deep or like super rational, and then we'll start talking about like, you know, just really unfun stuff. And people don't really, you know, want to talk about unfun stuff all the time, right? It's very heavy. Yeah, and also, you know, I was bringing the mindset to everything as well. I'm just like I was being super judgmental with people, like, you know, oh, look at this guy, so undisciplined. Or I was like, I'm wasting so much time here. What is the ROI of this dinner? Like, I could be learning about investing, I could be investing in stocks, I could be, you know, I could be working to get more money right now. And it just was the wrong mindset. And I was just out of balance. I was really out of balance. So, you know, yeah, so every time, you know, I would have a moment where I was just trying to enjoy life, I would feel really miserable, because the warrior would be telling me that I was a failure, because I wasn't living up to my full potential. I was wasting time. And overall, yeah, I was just thinking all the time, I feel like shit. Like, even though I was in the best shape of my life, like the warrior helped me do a lot of things. I was in the best shape of my life. You know, I was doing quite well, like financially, but yeah, I've just felt terrible all the time. And I remember like every morning, like I didn't want to wake up. You know, I didn't look forward to waking up, but I just forced myself to wake up. So yeah, I just started feeling really, really miserable. This is where I had a really profound mindset shift, where I realized that for a large majority of my life, I was living with the warrior at the front, right? That helped me to achieve a lot of goals, because I just brute forced my way through life, essentially. But I wasn't happy. So even though I was hitting a lot of these goals, I was terribly unhappy. And, you know, there was a part of me that was satisfied and proud of myself, because I had achieved the things I had achieved in my life, like, you know, graduated high school with, you know, top marks, went to a top university, had really cool friends, bought 3 properties by the age of like 24, you know, did really well in crypto, started my own business, had a great corporate job, like had all these things, right? I was really proud of myself in that aspect, but there was a really deep pit inside of me that was really hard to feel. I couldn't feel it with anything, actually. I tried like numbing the pain with like games, numbing the pain with, I don't know, food, going out, you know, going to raves, doing all that stuff. But yeah, there were some days where I would just, you know, lay in bed, and I would just like lay there and just be like, dude, what is the point? Like this, I just feel like shit, you know, just feel really unhappy. Oh my God, unlocking some deep emotions in me right now. But that's when, you know, earlier this year, I started to think about it, and I was like, I think people need to have 2 parts of their life in order to be happy. So number 1 is you need to achieve the things that you want to achieve. I think I can only speak for men, I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but I think most men know deep down that they want to, number 1 is like have a trade. Then number 2, want to be able to like provide for the family. And number 3 is like they want to be respected. So I think, you know, you need to do things in your life that will help you get to those points, whether that be, you know, making sure you have the material wealth to take care of the ones you love, doing hard things that you are proud of, and ultimately, achieving your goals and being respected by the community. I think that's really important for a man to be happy. And then the other side seems so obvious because, it's parroted everywhere. You see it in all the movies, but people, I think, really are a key to being happy. Like human beings are just a social species, and without people, people can literally die of loneliness, right? So that's a part of me that was really missing, and I noticed that being super rational all the time and trying to maximize everything, every scenario, every conversation, trying to get the most out of every situation was just killing me. So the mindset shift that I took was I now have two modes of living. And I hope if you're a super, super rational person, this can help you get over being really unhappy, because I think a lot of rational people are introverts. And we really miss this connection part of our lives, but we're really good at this, goal achievement side of our lives. So I go into warrior mode. So if it's time to work, if I'm, doing spreadsheets, or if I'm doing any work for my digital marketing business, I'm in warrior mode. Like, okay, let's be logical. Let's schedule things out. Let's think about the workload, and let's do whatever is needed to get to the goal, right? But having gone through that life experience of people not resonating with the warrior, right? Because the warrior is too harsh. He's not lighthearted. He's very hard to connect to, and he's too guarded. Like, something I forgot to mention before was, the warrior has a shield, right? I would really be deathly afraid of looking bad in front of people. And I wouldn't tell people whenever bad things happened in my life. So whenever someone asks you hey, how you going, right? I never tell them about the bad stuff that happened in my life. I remember when my dad passed away, I didn't share that news with my closest friends until a month later. I didn't tell anybody, right? It was terrible, just to keep it in. And I'm sure it affected them as well. They were kind of thinking probably wow, I'm not even close enough for you to share that type of information with. And I'm sure, that definitely affected some of my relationships. But yeah, throughout my entire life, I was deathly afraid to admit any sort of thing that would make me look bad, make me look silly, make me look dumb, make me look in any sort of bad way. But having matured now, I know that when you try to establish bonds with people, right, they want to see the good and the bad in you, right? So that's something that I'm trying to embody more of. And rationally, that was a big thing for me to overcome, because in my head I was rationally, what would me opening up and telling people negative things about myself, what would that do for me, right? That would hurt my reputation. That would make me look silly in front of others, right? That would embarrass me. I don't want to feel those feelings, right? I don't want to do that. But it was actually when I started to lose the rationality that I became so much more happy. Now, I didn't lose my rationality entirely. I split it into two modes of living. So like I said before, when I work, I am in complete warrior mode, and I am, I'm locked in. It's all logical, it's all reason, and I just go for it. But whenever I'm off work, and I made this rule to myself, whenever I'm off work, or whenever I'm talking to a person or a group, I will go into the gardener mode. So, when it comes to material goals and looking after my partner, our livelihoods and my family, I'm very firm, I'm super logical, right? Warrior mode. Very disciplined. But when I'm with people now, there's a switch that goes off in my brain where I'm just when you're with people, abandon the logic. Don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about what they think of you. Don't worry about maximizing this situation and trying to get some ROI out of it or trying to learn something from them. Or don't think about the future. Don't think about what you're gonna, what you're gonna do when you get home and all the work you have to do. Don't think about the gym routine you have to do later. Like nothing. Like just abandon all of those thoughts. I just let them go. When I'm with people, I let all of that heaviness. I just drop it, and then I just become so much lighter whenever I'm talking to people, and that has been immensely it's been life-changing for me actually. Just doing that small change of whenever you're talking to someone, just abandon your rational mind. Like don't even think. Don't even think. Just be like, it sounds so cliche, but it really works. It's like you just be yourself. Like for such a long time, like I'd always think about like, oh, I'd have to be this certain way. I need to act this certain way in front of people. What if they think of me differently? What if they have a higher view of me because I'm an entrepreneur and business owner? What if they think I'm like really cool, but then I'm actually super goofy, and then I burst that bubble, and then I start getting into these really long train thoughts, right? And these chain thoughts. But now it's like, dude, if I want to say something stupid and be super goofy, I just say it, and I just be really stupid and super goofy. Like I don't care if I'm 28 and someone thinks I'm supposed to, and I'm acting like a 21-year-old. I'm like, I don't care, dude. I'm like, that's just the way I am. If I have something to say, I'm just gonna say it. And if I'm gonna laugh, like I'm just gonna laugh. I don't know why. Like back in the day, I was just deathly afraid of showing emotions to people. Like I was like, oh, what if they think I'm not mature? What if they think I'm what if they just think I'm childish? Or like I don't know, I was just afraid to like connect with people, I guess. But yeah, there was a lot of like insecurity that happened from being overly rational, because I was just trying to logic my way through everything and just so in my head about every interaction, about every moment of life. I was just never here. I was just thinking about the future all the time, constantly worrying. And yeah, of course, you don't want to let caution blow to the wind completely, but this one change helped me tremendously, and I hope it will help you too. And if you try it, I promise you will feel so much better, like so much better. Like just give it a try. And yeah, the craziest thing happened when I did it, when I like let the shield down and I was just myself whenever I was talking to people. Like suddenly I just felt it, like I could see it switch, like the switch was happening. Like, I think people really enjoyed my time more. People were much more like just receptive and friendly. And yeah, I feel like before I felt like the world was so small because I didn't really allow myself to have that many connections with people. But now I feel like the world is really opening up. So the 7 billion people in the world, like it's such a shame that we've barely met any of them. I think, if you feel like your world is really small right now, give this a try. Drop all the heaviness, drop all the logic whenever you're talking to people, and just be yourself and have fun with it. It's been absolutely life-changing. So recap, when you're working, you're in the gym, put the warrior on, right? Whenever you're doing anything like, material, when you're doing something that's for your goals, for your mission, put the warrior on. As soon as someone comes in to your sphere, a person, any person, whether you're working or not, put the gardener on. Like there's no need for the warrior. And let the gardener plant your seeds of happiness in people. And I assure you, you'll feel so much better. So yeah, give it a try. Don't go full warrior and abandon the gardener. And I don't think you should go all gardener and people please the entire time either. Got to have a blend of the two. And yeah, that's how I'm currently balancing the two. And yeah, I feel so much more happy. And here we go. We got the warrior and the gardener working together now, as opposed to before, where the warrior was dominant over the gardener. But yeah, that's it. So hopefully that was really helpful to you guys. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to speak on any other scenarios you might be struggling with. Maybe I have some wisdom to share there. And if you like this video, please comment and subscribe. And yeah, I'll be back for more when more life lessons come up that I'll share with you guys. But yeah, that's all. I'm Patrick, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.